Voltron Network.
What's up, guys, and welcome to DC vs. Marvel podcast, where we talk about the latest DC and Marvel movie news. My name is Uz, aka Uzimandias, and once again, joining us, the most busiest man in the podcast world,
What's up, guys?
representing
Yo,
Marvel
yo.
Comics,
AKA Eddie Brock.
aka Eddie Brock, man. Yeah, so bruv, another interesting week in the world of
When is it not?
2020, man.
The most amazing year ever.
Yeah.
The documentaries, the stories, the books that are going to be written about this year. It's just going to be amazing. We're going to be telling our grandkids about this.
Yeah. Did you hear the news that came out 30 minutes ago about on HBO Max?
They're taking the DC films off of there.
Well, forget about DC. We're talking about if you put in inflation, the film that has made the biggest amount of money ever of all time, Gone with the Wind, has been taken off HBO Max because it's apparently got like bits in it which are kind of a little bit racist.
Yeah. Because talks about plantations and all of that. Yeah, that when you're dealing with films that are made past 1960s, you're gonna have even in the 70s and even the 80s, you're gonna have a ton of that stuff. It's unavoidable, but I'm mixed feelings about this. Whether you should just completely like wipe these films or take these films down or re-edit them. I don't know. I'm not as people would probably think that you'd want that, but I don't know. They're kind of a capsule at a certain point of time, so I'm not really into that re-editing and just ignoring or pretending shit didn't exist.
Yeah, you're better to have a dialogue about it, right? And
and a warning at the beginning or something.
This is what some people are talking about. They're saying like, okay, they're removing it, and then it's going to come back on, like a few months down the line, and people are going to be talking about it, and saying what's going on here and stuff like that. So yeah, a lot of these films, because the other thing is that one of the actresses in it wasn't actually allowed to go to the Oscars because it was segregated or something.
Yeah.
So that was like the main thing, and the dude from, do you remember this program called Bo Selector back in the day, man?
Oh yeah.
So that guy came and he's made like a tearful things.
Dude, this makes me a bit mad though. I feel a bit different about this because this isn't anything new. Everyone was saying this at the time when it came out. Like all of his main characters were like this Mel B and Michael Jackson, all these like, and what's his name, Craig David. That was his whole staple of characters, but didn't seem to care at the time because.
Yeah. This is the thing. We're gonna at some point, because this is gonna go in cycles, man. We're gonna go in like, the kind of thing like, say, like with Sacha Baron Cohen, right? So Sacha Baron Cohen, I really like his like humor. I just find him hilarious, right? But then one of my mates like pointed out to me, he's like, every character apart from Bruno is a piss take of like Muslims, right? And I'm like,
pretty much,
what?
especially because he's a Jewish guy.
Yeah, and he's like, so you got Ali G, who's like, a mistake of like a Asian dude in Stains, and then he's got Borat, and he's basically just like, all of his characters are kind of like that, right? So at some point you kind of think to yourself, okay, well, where you kind of draw the line on things like this, man. And it's an interesting scenario. I think a lot of the issue is a lot of people, they want to concentrate on that kind of stuff rather than concentrating on the real kind of problems, because there's so many major problems. Like, okay, we need to fund education properly. We need to tackle these, like the fact that a cop looks at a black guy and thinks, right, okay, he's up to no good. That kind of stuff. We need to tackle those kind of things. And
retraining. Like when I hear we're gonna get to the DC versus Marvel stuff soon, guys. Don't worry, we ain't gonna drag on this too much because I know some of you probably want to break. But when I hear stuff about defunding cops, like, how are you gonna retrain them if you defund them? Because they need training to do their job properly and not do the dumb shit that they've been doing.
Yeah. I think they were saying about defunding because they spend a lot of their money on some of the dumbest stuff ever. So
tanks and all that stuff, yeah. But
yeah, so there's a picture of this dude, and he's basically got a gas canister, tear gas canister launcher, right? It can only launch one can, right, on it, and it's got an effective range of about 100 yards. Okay, so you can see 100 yards easily, right? But they've attached a $600 sight onto it, like a telescopic sight, right? And it's like, that's why they're saying defund the police, because it's like, mate, you do not need a $600 sight on this thing, man. And
kitted out like armies, like military.
Yeah,
the fact that it costs 600 in the first place is part of the scam. Like, surely you can do that for half that, a quarter of that, a tenth of that.
Yeah, definitely, man. You go to a third world, it's probably like, probably costs absolutely nothing. You know what I mean? But yeah, man. Apart from that, what you been up to, man? You've been
not a lot, man.
Let's broaden this because we got a message saying that they like it when we kind of talk about just general stuff that we've been up to, not just DC and Marvel. So yeah, I think some people actually just listen to that and then turn off.
That's bizarre. Damn, I wish I could have something I could say then, because I have not been. I think quarantine, because it's, even though it's getting looser now, I'm still working at home and doing all that stuff. So I'm at the point now where boredom is hit, like legit boredom. I don't have pets. I'm not living with a partner, so just the sheer boredom. I can't watch. I'm struggling to watch movies and TV. I'm just bored. My couch just represents sleep now, so I just want to sleep.
Yeah.
Time.
Yeah, I mean, there was this film that I really wanted to watch, right? Which is basically because, the guy Kevin James, King of Queens, and
what's he called? The girl, one where it's the girl's name, Becky. Yeah, I downloaded that. I haven't watched it yet. Again, because I just can't be asked. I've got a million things right there to watch, but I just can't bring myself to watch it.
That's exactly the way it is. So instead, I turned on YouTube. And I went down a rabbit hole because I think I was accidentally logged into Voltron Network, and I've kind of seen all the stuff that like you guys are watching and stuff like that. So they're all wrestling stuff and things like that. So I fell down this rabbit hole of like watching about this. There's this like wrestler, and she's quite a big wrestler, and she keeps hurting people, right? And she's like, yep. And I've probably watched about 4 or 5 videos of just her just like mangling people.
Yeah, she's a serial killer. She's basically a serial killer on TV every week.
And I was like, it's like this. Guys, we will talk about DC and Marvel quickly, yeah. But basically, it's just like it's
because she's related to The Rock. She's The Rock's cousin, so that's partly.
She's The Rock's cousin.
Yeah, the thing is, with a lot of them Samoan dynasties in wrestling, a lot of them they're related very closely. So a lot of the big historic names she's kind of connected to, and also The Rock. So that's part of the reason why she's there. She's untouchable, and she's massive, and there aren't that many women that big. So yeah, she's basically everybody.
Like tall and like wide, basically, right? And she's literally picking these guys up and like throwing them, and obviously they're gonna end up with injuries and stuff like that.
Barely trained. She was like training for way shorter than she should have been. They just took her. Vince just took her straight to the main roster to kill everybody.
Yeah, and one of them she beat up a bloke as well.
Yeah. Like she entered into the Royal Rumble. Which is hilarious.
Like, so I randomly went down those, and then I ended up watching this like documentary, which I linked to you guys on the chat thing, on the WhatsApp, which is like basically after watching that, right, I've come to an epiphany. Okay, so I'll give you guys you guys who are listening to this, I'll give you guys clips of this thing. This is basically a documentary by a guy. He's an environmentalist who is a real good friend of Michael Moore, right? And this guy's been campaigning for 40 years, right, for environmental concerns. He like turned vegan. He's like, we got to get rid of fossil fuels. He's been campaigning with Greenpeace, all this kind of stuff, right? And he's basically found out it's all a lie. Like the whole thing is a lie, right? So you can't have solar, you can't have wind power, you can't have you can't have geothermal.
Why? What do you mean?
The reason being is solar panels last about 2-3 years, right? And there's a massive industrial process to dig out all of the raw materials to make the solar panels, right? Yeah. Not only that, they're massively inefficient, right? Yeah. So you have to have something, right? You know, they say these things like, oh, if you cover the whole of Spain, you'll have enough energy to power the whole of Europe or whatever, right? If you cover it with solar panels, it's bollocks, basically. It's a total lie, right? So, you know, he was showing all these projects. A lot of these projects have just like died. You used to see these places where they had like acres and acres and acres of solar panels, and they've been there 10 years and they're just basically just like destroyed in the desert because they only last 5 years, and then you got to replenish the whole thing and you got to dig all the stuff out. The other problem is that unlike oil and gas and stuff like that, where you can turn it on and off, with this, you can't turn it on and off, right? So what they have to do is they have to burn gas to start the power plant, right? And then when the power plant gets enough energy, then they can switch it over to solar. By the time they switch it over to solar, it's making so little energy, like literally like an entire, imagine like a football field worth of solar panels is one kettle.
That I've always wondered why there hasn't been more of a progression when it comes to solar. I always hear about how inefficient they are, and it just isn't. It just doesn't generate enough.
And wind power, he was saying like how inefficient it is, and all this kind of stuff, and how what they're doing now. This basically they're saying that that they're getting rid of coal, right? And basically they want to get rid of coal because it pollutes, and they want to get rid of oil because it pollutes, and they want to get rid of this. And So what instead they're doing is converting to biomass, and the UK is one of the biggest leaders in biomass. Like basically, like 60% of our energy comes from biomass. Biomass is basically they chop down trees, they turn them into wood pellets, and they burn them in this massive oven, right? And basically what this guy was showing was like, look, we can't engineer ourselves out of this. We can't use solar, wind, all this kind of stuff to make it that we have enough energy to survive, right? It's just not going to happen. We're just delaying the inevitable, right? So that's when I got the epiphany, right? Because I was like, you know what, man, I've been hating on this Marvel stuff for so long, right? I've been hating on this. I've been hating on that. I've been saying, I'm going to avoid this. I'm going to do this, whatever. I'm going to just, you know what? I'm just going to enjoy that stuff, man. Enjoy the stuff with my kids.
There you go. That's what you should have been doing from the beginning. It's there to enrich your soul, to give you a break from the misery of real life.
I mean, I'm not gonna, you know, go out of my way to be like, okay, I want to watch Captain Marvel 2 and randomness like that. But it's just kind of like, it just made me think, man, like, okay, all this stuff we're doing is just delaying the inevitable. So you might as well enjoy while you're here, you know what I mean?
We're going at that. Mad Max is a peek into the future. We had a little taste of it this autumn and this spring, shall I say? And that's going to be the future. Get used to it, guys.
Yeah, and that is a thing. So yeah, this documentary is crazy, man. It's absolutely crazy, but it's mad how like we think that we're going to get so great technology we're going to get out of this, but we're actually not.
Take things for granted. That's the thing. You turn on the tap, water comes through. You just don't really think of the process of it getting there. And same with power and electricity. What about thorium? I always heard about thorium is supposed to be this legit thing.
Yeah. The only thing that could potentially get us out of this is if they discover cold fusion, right? Which is basically like if you can fuse two particles, like nuclear fusion, but with you know, doing it cold rather than using tons of heat. Because if they do that, then we're laughing, right? But then there's this whole thing about why aliens haven't come here, because there are no aliens, because they're all the same as us and we all kill ourselves after a while and blah blah. But anyway, guys, this is the DC.
Dude, anyone does invent cold fusion, not to take us in a conspiracy tangent, but you know, whoever does it's going to end up getting killed. The technology is going to be suppressed, and all things are just going to keep on draining as much as they can out of us.
Exactly, and the supervillain politicians are they going to be the ones that control that that one bit? You know what I mean? That's the thing, man. You know that after a while you start to see certain things and you think, do you know what? This could actually become reality. There's like this Justin Timberlake film where basically you have a certain amount of time, right?
Yeah, in time. And, clock on the wrist. I love that.
Right, and I was just thinking, man, that shit could come real.
I know. Did you ever hear about the guy that invented a car that ran on water?
Yeah.
And he mysteriously died, and his workshop was mysteriously destroyed and ransacked before it was destroyed. Like, the answer's out there. We're getting to the point. It's at our fingertips, but people just want to keep it from us.
Yeah, that's
financially viable.
Yeah, exactly, because you're not going to make any money off something where you have free energy, you know what I mean? So the whole thing, basically the whole thing is all of these oil guys are trying to convert into this renewable energy thing, but using the same tech, basically, the same, dirty tech, basically.
As far as they know, they probably could have already invented it and we're using it, but we just don't know it because they're just telling us that we're still using oil and coal. That's probably what would happen.
Exactly, and that's where you get UFOs and all of that. You know what I mean? Using that kind of tech, man.
We need to turn this into a conspiracy podcast. We need to transition. No more DC versus Marvel. Talk about government shit.
Actually, we should do, man. Literally, just like a deep dive into conspiracy theories every single week, man. Yeah. So yeah, guys. Like we said, this is a DC versus Marvel podcast, and I'm not going to say start off because we've been prattling on for a while, but let's go into the first two bits of news, man. Batwoman and The Flash. Now, we don't really cover the CW on here because we hate it. Well, I hate it. I don't know about Eds. Eds might love it, but
I started warm on it when it all began, but the very beginning. But like eating too much seafood, it slowly poisoned me, and I just couldn't keep going with it. Past 2 seasons of each show, it's just bad.
I gotta say a similar thing. Like when Arrow first came out, I was well excited because I was like, "What, Green Arrow on TV? Goodness me!" But after that, it's like, nah. And the thing is that we've got two of the shows there. The Flash just keeps going on and on. And there's a guy in there, his actor's name is called Hartley Sawyer, and he's playing a character called the Elongated Man. Elongated Man is an interesting character, man. It's actually one of my favorites, but it's one of those things. Do you prefer Plastic Man or Elongated Man? I don't know, but it's just one of those things.
Plastic is crazy.
Plastic is more hilarious. He cracks me up, basically, right? But this guy himself basically tweets have like resurfaced, right? And a lot of these. Have you read some of these tweets? Yeah, have you read some of these?
Yeah, they were saying about being racist and all of that. I only really seen the ones which seem to be sexist, like misogynistic, talking about raping women and all of that. That's the only thing. I haven't seen any other. Not that means it's any less crazy, because it is. The stuff he was saying was dumb as fuck. Why do people do this? I don't understand. Like, this happens so much. Singers seem to be able to get away with it for some reason. They have this whole background of being racist or saying all of this stuff, but they get forgiven. But still, is it just being a teenager makes you dumb? If there's any teenagers listening, sorry, but what?
Yeah, I was looking. I was watching this YouTube video, right? And the guys on there were like, "Look, they were discussing the same kind of thing," and it was like, there should be a thing on Twitter where it's like you've got 1 hour, right? So you put your tweet up, right, and that just stays in the server for like an hour, right? And in 1 hour that become activated. So you got 1 hour to like go for a walk, have a think about what dumb shit he
I
tweeted on
don't
there, right?
think it would make a difference. Like with this guy, he had so many. He was obviously not caring for a period of time. Like this sort of thing shows you that 50 years from now, politics is going to be a mess because you can't. Everybody's going to have a background of being naked on the internet and tweeting crazy shit and all these nude selfies and stuff like and porn videos of themselves because they're dumb. Everyone's dumb when they're young. And it's
but the thing is, are they that stupid? I was looking at it. I was looking at it and I was thinking, okay, was I that stupid when I was a teenager that I would say things that thick, right? Like literally, like, you know, I mean, he's putting up stuff like, oh yeah, if I had a girlfriend, I'll beat her and stuff like that. And it's just like, okay.
It depends what bubble you're in. People that have that.
Would I say stuff like that?
I think people that have that bubble of this
jocks kind of thing.
Yes, that's the sort of where you can say anything, get away with anything, and there's never any consequence to anything you do.
Yeah, that kind of like sports. What do you call it? Locker room.
Super popular crowd. That's all. Rich. Kind of, basically, if you got money.
Basically, and he looks like a rich kid, right? When I saw his pictures and stuff like that, but I don't know. I mean, this is the thing, man. There's one thing about putting stuff on. There's also another thing about, okay, fine, he's been sacked publicly. He's done and dusted. Now, I kind of looked at it in the UK. We've had a couple of these things which are not quite similar, but I kind of liken them to that. Now, one of the ones that I remember quite recently was a guy from Red Dwarf called Craig Charles, right? He was on Coronation Street, and they basically caught him smoking crack, right, in the back of a.
I didn't know that. What the fuck?
Have you never seen that?
I never heard of that.
Dude, it was on the front of the newspapers and everything, right? So basically, it's got him, and he's got a crack pipe, and he's basically smoking. It was like on the front of the Sun and the Mirror and all this kind of stuff, right? So he's there, and they write down everything. Like, he was in the back of a taxi. They didn't have Ubers or anything in those days, right?
He wasn't young at the time.
No, he was like, he's in Coronation Street, so he's like 40 odd.
Yeah. Like, what point of your life comes where you find, I'm going to smoke crack? And same with people who become meth addicts. Like, at what point? And heroin, like, that's always fascinated me, that decision. Like, it's not good. There's never any examples of it being good for anyone getting out of it well. So for you to just sit there, I want to do heroin. I want to do meth. Like,
you can understand the peer pressure with a kid, right? But with a fully grown adult, it's a very different scenario. So basically, what they did with him was the Coronation Street bosses, they sent him for rehab, right? I mean, this guy was literally, I'm not joking, right? If you ever Google it, you'll see. He's sitting there with a crack pipe in the back of this cab, right? It's just hilarious, right? So he's basically like there, and the Coronation Street, they took him off Coronation Street, which if you guys don't know, Coronation Street is like a big soap in the UK. It's kind of like
horrible
Sunset Beach style kind of thing, I guess. Not as good as Sunset Beach. Sunset Beach is alright.
Imagine the opposite of Sunset Beach, just a depressing
Melrose
town.
Place.
These are all nice places to live that you can watch as an escape. Coronation is the opposite. You want to escape watching it.
The worst version of Dawson's Creek you've ever seen,
Yeah, I guess.
So basically, he was in this, and they sent him for rehab, and then he came back, and he was quite applauded because they're like, he's come back from rehab, he's fine, he's doing this, all this kind of stuff, and he was given a second chance, and now he's on Radio 2 doing like some jazz thing, as a DJ. He's got a primetime slot on there. He's on Coronation Street. You found it.
He's looking straight at the bloody camera, man.
Exactly, bro. So this is the thing. So that is that's the thing. Like, the difference between that. Okay, so this guy is smoking up crack, and he's doing it as an adult, right? You compare that to this guy who okay, he said a lot of dumb stuff, like really stupid stuff. What usually would kind of happen would you be kind of like, okay, well, you know what, maybe he needs to go and do some programs there in inner city schools, or he needs to go and work at a refuge, women's refuge or something, and realize how bad stuff he's done. I mean, there's a lot of examples back in the day of people who used to do stuff like that.
I think it's different than when it's a substance abuse issue, whether it's drugs or alcohol, to something which is an opinion. Something is the way someone thinks. I don't think it's as easy to reprogram the way someone thinks. Personally, maybe it's not a good way to think. Maybe, you know, people do grow up and change and mature. But there is a part of me that kind of thinks that if you think that way, then regardless of all the apologies and all of that, that's your true nature. You just got caught out. It's like with Hulk Hogan. I don't want to bring that to wrestling, but with him doing all his apologies about how he apologized for getting caught being racist. But there's a part of me thinks that's how he is. That's what he is. Yeah. That's the person he is, regardless of all the apologies a person makes.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, because obviously the Flash has got a certain demographic of people who watch it there as well, and I guess
and most of them are girls.
That's the kind of thing. Exactly, and that I think is the thing, because they kind of want to look at it and say, do you know what? They're all like young kids who are watching it. We don't want young kids to have this impression that this is a acceptable thing to do. So they just decide to, you know.
I know that there's probably going to be people at home are going to be saying, yeah, you say it's about DC, but what about James Gunn? What he said online. So what's the difference between what the Flash guy did and Gunn did? Jokes?
I'll tell you why I've slightly changed my position on James Gunn, right? Because me and Ash had a long chat about this before, and I was kind of like, do you know what? I don't really like what he's saying. And then I've kind of researched the back catalog of stuff that he's done. So at the time when he was saying a lot of these things, he created this computer game, right? And this computer game was really kind of like a weird, imagine.
But couldn't you tell that they were obviously trying to be jokes, regardless of whether they were funny or not?
Yeah, you could kind of tell. I mean, they were. My position was basically that, okay, he's working for Disney, which is supposedly meant to be whatever, right? And they've got a situation where pretty much you got one guy who is in charge of absolutely everything, Feige, right? And it's kind of like they don't let directors step out of line or do their own thing or anything like that. So I was like, he's definitely going to get a sanction, and he's probably going to get taken off stuff, right? At the same time, when I was looking at it recently, I was kind of like, okay, well, he's created computer games which are kind of along the same kind of lines, and you know, the way that he's written things is along that same kind of line, right?
All of his old stuff was like that, more edgy.
Yeah, so you're kind of thinking, okay, well, he's speaking to that audience of the stuff that he's created, right? Yeah. Because in those days, it wasn't like, okay, I'm speaking to the Guardians audience or the, you know, whatever. I'm speaking to that audience of those computer games or the Dawn of the Dead, you know, zombie.
The Sliver horror audience for his movies and
Yeah, so he's talking to those guys, and because he's talking to those guys, it's a different kind of thing. So it's a different kind of thing, like, you know, like we would talk about, or you know, if we're at Mo's house saying certain things or whatever, than you would do if I was talking to my kids, for example. It'd be a very different scenario. So that's why you got to look at it in context. Now, the thing with this guy, right? I did the same thing, because I didn't give James Gunn the benefit of the doubt, right? So I did the same thing, and I was like, okay, what was this guy doing at the time? He wasn't acting at the time. He wasn't really doing anything. So this is just a young guy who's just spouting crap, right? And I kind of just think to myself, okay, fine, that's your opinion of talking rubbish or whatever, and you think it's funny. It's not really funny. Right. And you know, it's quite dumb, and he was an adult kind of at the time, so
but you know, his friend circle, they probably thought it was funny, and he because his friends laugh, he probably thinks everyone must find it funny. I'm the comedian in my group, everyone's gonna love me.
Well, then at that point you make it so it's private, or you say in a WhatsApp,
Well,
or you say in a text group, or
apparently
whatever.
he did delete it all a while ago, but there were people who, even from back then, for whatever reason, decided to screenshot those tweets, and that's when it all kind of came back, innit? So he knew he effed up a while ago, but too late.
I think with all of these things, you got to preempt it. So if you know it's there, you're like, look, you come out, you say, look, do you know what? I made some really bad mistakes. I said some silly things, whatever, because the best thing is to get in front of it. Once you're getting behind it like this, then you're in trouble, because you deleted it. You kind of think, oh, everybody's going to forget about it. The whole point is owning it and admitting it, you know? And that I think is a better kind of way. I mean, if we go back to wrestling there again, Stone Cold Steve Austin, I've been listening to his like autobiography, right? And basically, like, there's bits in there where he's kind of like, he beat up his wife and he became an alcoholic and blah blah. And it's like, look at him now, like, he's still revered, Stone Cold Steve Austin. He admitted to his stuff, admitted his demons, came out, all this kind of stuff. With these guys, they're kind of like, delete it and it's never going to show itself, right?
Yeah.
So you need to get in front of it and kind of own it, man. So yeah, that guy is gone big time. He's disappeared on the face of the earth. And another person who's gone is obviously Ruby Rose from Batwoman. We talked about this
Moment of
there.
silence.
A moment of silence. But it has resurfaced there today. They're basically like a leaked script of how they're going to introduce the new character, the new Batwoman, right?
I heard it was an audition.
Yeah, so
it's a video of an audition.
Yeah, so transcript of of an audition, right? Which is, I hope they don't put this in, because if they do, right, it just proves everything that we've said for forever, right? Which is basically, writers in this field are garbage, like just garbage, right? For you guys who haven't seen this, there basically this is apparently the new Batwoman appearing, and you get kind of you get Luke Fox ends up turning up, and the other character, I can't remember what her name is, in that police force, I can't remember what her name is, but basically they turn up and they're trying to track the Batsuit, because the Batsuit is kind of there, but Ruby Rose's Kate Kane has disappeared away from the Batsuit, and they end up finding somebody else in possession of it. And then when they inquire about that and say, we need to keep this, this belongs to Kate Kane, she's like, yeah, I know it belongs to Kate Kane, but the story's not over for Batwoman. And they're like, yeah, it is. And she's like, well, no, because because Jonathan Crane's still around. And they're like, what's that got to do with anything? And she's like, well, Jonathan Crane killed my mother, so I'm gonna go and exact my revenge.
How did she get the suit?
I don't know. It doesn't say. It's just basically
did she just stumble across Kate's dead body and just strip the body, leaving it naked in the street or whatever, and just ran wearing the suit.
Yeah, exactly. She's lying
in an alley somewhere. What the hell?
But yeah, once again, just dire writing, because the dire writing is basically when it comes to like, okay, what motivation, what possible motivation could this character have? Oh, Jonathan Crane's killed her mom. Okay, well, do you know what? This is lazy, because this has been done to death 10 million times. Okay, yeah, the motivation is this. Why? It's.
I don't think they care.
Horrible.
I honestly believe, I just don't think Berlanti and the people that run all these shows, they don't care enough to think that they have to put that much effort into these shows.
I think you know what it is with Berlanti. He's got his team of writers or whatever, and he's like, you know what, get on with it. Make it kind of make it look a little bit, but just get on with it, right? It's not like you have Feige or whatever who's like, it's going to go this way.
Yeah, who loves
now get on with it.
Do we know about anything about Berlanti? Does he actually care? Is he into comic books? Does he read them? Is it just one of those things that, oh, yeah, I always loved
I don't know.
Superman.
I'm gonna need to go into that research because it's interesting. Because when you look at the Stargirl stuff, and I still haven't seen all the Stargirl episodes, but I've been reading like the about the episodes and things, and it's like they're actually really trying to follow actually what the comic books are like. And I guess because Jeff Johns is on it and it's his passion project and stuff like that, it's interesting that they're trying to go down that route. And you compare that to Greg Berlanti's stuff, and it's like they're trying their best to keep away as much as possible, right? I mean, okay, you got Batwoman, right? Okay, Ruby Rose doesn't want part of it. She chips. Okay, well, you got Cassie Kane. You've got, you've got Batgirl. You got Barbara Gordon. You can bring back in. You got Spoiler. You could bring back in. You got tons of characters who you could go and just say, you know what, let's just bring these characters in, and make them kind of run riot
by
and stuff,
creating
right?
their own character. They don't have to stick to any guidelines. They can just do whatever they want, go wherever they want. The personality can be whatever, switch from week to week.
I mean, the Cassie Kane stuff is absolutely ideal because obviously Cassie Kane takes inspiration from Batman. You could have this in an alternative universe where Cassie Kane has been watching all the stuff that Kate Kane has been up to, gets inspiration from it. When Kate Kane is done, she steals the bat suit.
Maybe even the suit's damaged, so she has to stitch it together. So we have some of that, the design where got the stitching on the thing.
Yeah, and then it's like okay, because you've got this in America they say Asian, we say different, but basically so you've got that Asian demographic there. You've got that character in. You've got the female lead. You've got the fact that you've got this interesting kind of thing that they're trying to chase her. Is she a good guy? Is she a bad guy? Whatever. That is an interesting story. But no, let's just create a character who's going to now become Batwoman, and her motivation is that Scarecrow killed her mom. So I hate it. Honestly, I hate it. This is why I reach out to other podcasts who love CW stuff and like say to them, can we do a collab?
And they don't wanna, because they know deep down they know it's bad.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, come on, please collab and sell me this, sell me this stuff, man. So yeah. So let's go into Marvel, man. So Evan Peters, the guy who was playing Quicksilver. Quicksilver?
Yeah.
Quicksilver, yeah. He's been given a part in WandaVision. Like, we don't know exactly what his part is in WandaVision, which is interesting because I thought that had all filmed by now.
So did I, but apparently not.
And obviously the internet's going crazy now. Like, is Quicksilver going to come in here? He's a different Quicksilver. Is she kind of basically creating a universe where her brother's still alive, but it's this brother rather than the other brother? What do you think about that?
I don't know, because the thing is, if he was still playing Quicksilver, if they wanted to commit to him being Quicksilver, that means they would kind of be connecting the other X-Men, the actors that we had in the last X-Men movie, to be those characters still, which, even though they're young, so there's that positive that they were still young, so there's still, ways to go there. But at the same time, do you really want to handcuff yourself to two bad films, the most recent X-Men films? And I would have expected they would want to start from scratch. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say I don't think he's playing Quicksilver. I think he's just hired as an actor to play a character of some sort. But not.
Yeah.
Because I don't think they would handcuff themselves to those actors.
That is true, because then you've associated that with the entire
Dark
universe.
Phoenix and Apocalypse, and no, they don't want to deal with all that.
Exactly, and that's why Thanos did the snap, because he saw X-Men Apocalypse, right? Basically. So yeah, man. So let's keep with Marvel for a moment, but the Fox version of Marvel, right? So apparently Josh Trank just keeps talking, man. I thought he kind of like gave up on this mission, but
no.
he keeps talking. So now he's said that basically he originally wanted to cast Sue Storm as a African American actress, but there was a lot of pushback from the studio to stop him doing that, right? And then instead, obviously, ended up as Kate Mara, I think.
Yeah.
Kate Mara. So it ended up as that actress.
Yeah.
And obviously that was that was an issue there because people were like, how now they had to create a half brother.
Adopted.
Just just didn't really work 100%, man. So this, I guess, at the this, I don't know.
I get it I get it because considering the fuss and the way the world just exploded when they unveiled the Black Johnny Storm, it would have been doubly so if she was also black as well. I guess people they like the characters to be how they remember, and I get that. I get that. It's like when they say they want to turn James Bond, they want to get Idris Elba to be James Bond. It's like, just do another special agent that Idris can play it. Just keep. I'm not into switching and mixing if it's not needed. If it's a complete character that no one cares about at all, that's completely like, then screw around with it. But when it's a beloved character that has a deep, massive fan base and massive, legacy, then just keep it as it is and just make another one that can be whatever.
Do you think he was doing that partially because he wanted to differentiate this one from the other, Fantastic Four? But yeah, I don't know why he's even talking about. I guess because people are still asking him about it and saying, what the hell happened with this film? Because actually, the one that he's created now, the Capone film, is actually half decent. So it's kind of like, mate, I haven't seen it, but I've just seen the ratings for it and stuff. So it's kind of like comparing that and the blip in the middle and then the Chronicle there before. It's kind of like, what the hell happened to you in the middle, mate? So yeah, it's just it's a weird one. But
how would you feel about all that?
How would I feel about that?
How do you genuinely feel about the ethnic mixing of a character, like a character you love, and then like who's your guy? Besides
my
Batman,
guy?
Besides Batman, like a team, a group.
A team.
Would you want to see an Indian Wonder Woman? Would you be cool with
never.
that?
Oh no, because it's a Greek story.
Yeah, but they could change it to like the ancient Indian gods.
Oh, please!
It changes the character, doesn't it? It just kind of.
I kind of get it, but basically, what it is whenever I think of anything like this, okay, I kind of think, okay, they have to have done that character multiple times to death, basically, right? Or they have to have done it so that initially, when that when that character came out, it was perfect, or it was like exactly the way that you'd want it.
Source material,
yeah, exactly perfect. And then at that point, it's like, okay, change it to whatever you want, because you still got that one, right? This is why, like, people are moaning a lot about Ghostbusters, but it's like, mate, I don't really like Ghostbusters, but some people loved it, right? And it's like basically,
dare you?
Well, that's the thing. Ghostbusters came around the same time as all the Indiana Jones stuff, and that was.
There's room for both. You don't have to choose.
No,
What's this? Was one side or the other. What is with this? You love Division. Come on, man. Gotta love it all.
No, there was never enough. It was, it's like one was on ITV, one was on BBC.
Oh, that's terrible.
every Christmas or whatever. So, but yeah, it's kind of like, okay, you got Ghostbusters, right? So does it matter if they redo it, 20 more times?
Everyone's too old now, so change it. I don't mind.
It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter to me.
No, I was gonna say, what was I gonna say? I completely forgot. Blanks.
If you haven't got the character though, right, and you've never had that character, that's the time when I get vexed, because it's like, okay, if they decided, okay, we're gonna completely change I don't know, say Apocalypse, right? And we're gonna make him a 5'8" guy who basically like doesn't look anything like Apocalypse in the in the comic books, and he's got some weird powers, and he's got the Four Horsemen, which are not really the Four Horsemen, and he's got this whole storyline revolving around Magneto and stuff. Then I'd be like, okay, this is totally bizarre. It makes to me it makes no sense to kind of do that. But if you have that specific character, that's why I'm not averse to James Bond. I don't give a stuff about James Bond. We've had years and years of James Bond, and some of the James Bond being absolutely definitive, right? For me, I'd like James Bond to go back to the fun times, you know what I mean? Like the jokey kind of
Pierce Brosnan, you know what I mean? Bond I could not stand. I like the gritty Bond.
Yeah, so you heard that podcast with Quentin Tarantino, right?
I still haven't gotten around to it, man.
Okay, so in one of them, he says like how he watched I think the first one was Tomorrow Never Dies or something like that, right? With Pierce Brosnan, he watched it, he loved it so much. He pursued Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah,
right?
I heard that.
Pierce Brosnan, right? And he's like, we gotta make a James Bond film. Like, come on, you thought the absolute most perfect Bond like ever, basically, right? And you look at it and you think, this is nothing like what Quentin Tarantino makes, but he obviously saw something at the time. But the
only time I'd like a fun Bond is if it was like a period piece where it's based in the 60s, kind of like as a send up of the original Sean Connery ones, or what's his face? Yeah, that would be the only time I'd be into that. Kind of like a Man from U.N.C.L.E., like the Henry Cavill one.
Yeah, I think because we've had so many like parodies, like Johnny English and Austin Powers and stuff like that. That it's kind of, you're right, it would have become a parody of itself.
Just not that broad comedy, but I get it.
Yeah, and just be kind of bizarre, man. So, let's. I can't remember what we were talking about there, but it was. I think it was like changing characters, right?
Trank, ethnic switching. The only time switching the ethnicity of a character worked is Nick Fury. It's the only time I'm like, why not? No one gives a shit about Nick Fury. Yeah, exactly. And Samuel Jackson is cool whatever he does, you know what I mean? So that's the thing, man. So let's keep with Fox for the moment. And the Ed Boone, who's the guy who is the director of New Mutants, desperately wants to make a trilogy, apparently. And he was apparently going to be Antonio Banderas was the father of Maisie Williams' character, was basically going to be in the next one. And he's like, I really want to still make it. Given the fact of what's going on with New Mutants. That's the thing. We don't know. Like, I really want to see it. And I'm still giving hope that it's not as bad. Because I'm hearing mixed things, that some people think that test screenings have been good and it's still that version of the film. It isn't being reshot and all of that. And then executives saying they don't like it. I don't know. Like, I'm still leaning towards it. It can't be that bad. Maybe just executives don't like it because it's not the superhero family film that they want. That it is this darker, weird sort of superhero horror. And that's why they don't like it and haven't put it out. But
yeah, I once again went down a rabbit hole about this and started reading comments on what people were saying, what was going on with this. And a lot of the comments are saying stuff like, the reason why this is taking so long to come out is because they're editing it in a certain way that it could be either it could sit in the Fox universe or it could sit in the MCU, right? So you could take it and you could watch it, and if it doesn't do well, right, you could say, do you know what? That's part of the Fox universe. Let's junk it, right? Okay. what they don't want to do is make it too into that universe, because if it's locked into there, then you can't then take it over to the MCU.
That's the thing. That could be its benefit, that it has been delayed so long, is that they could adjust it, and just as it introducing, or this could be the first introduction to the whole mutants concept into the MCU. That could be its benefit, that it could kind of be carried over onto this other side.
Yeah, it's very similar to this other film that came out recently, though. This is a thing that is, you know, and I keep racking my brain to figure out what this film is, and it's just doing my head in. It was in the cinema recently, but it's like the more I see of it, the more it reminds me of this film, which is, and I can't remember the name of it, but it was kind of like the same concept. They go in, they find out there's experiments being done on them. You know, it's just the whole, you know, the whole situation. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm still looking forward to seeing that, because I just want to see what it is. The fact that it's taken so bloody long for it to come out.
Doesn't have a date, does it?
No. But
how long's it taken? 3 years?
I don't know, man. I don't know. It's just like at some point it's gonna come out, man. So let's go back to some DC stuff, man. And basically we've had David Ayer talking about Suicide Squad, Harley Quinn and Robin again. And saying like basically how much he's really campaigning hard, man, to get his cut, right? Because he's like doing the same kind of stuff that Zack Snyder was doing. So like every other day he's bringing out like a black and white photo of something that hasn't been on the main film or whatever. So he brought out this photo of the Joker, a couple of other photos
screaming next in front of Harley, innit?
You know, photo of the Joker, a photo today of a Tendril, the Enchantress, going to take over Katana. So, you know, Katana's basically like, you know, becoming her slave kind of thing, which kind of hints at the fact that there was a fight between Katana and the rest of the Suicide Squad, which
would have been so cool, because she was my favorite. She was down low. Katana was down low, my favorite out of all the Suicide Squad. And it bums me that she's not even in the new one, is she? She isn't on the...
No.
Which bums me, because she was so cool, man.
They did, what's it called? The same way they did Ray Fisher dirty, they did Karen Fukuhara, I think her name is, dirty as well. Because she was another like up and coming, like, you know, she's going to be this, you know, this big actress, whatever, quite well known, you know, in other kind of circles. And it was like, just the introduction to Katana was horrible. And then it was like, and then it's like, okay, I'm looking for some really cool scenes of her like fighting and stuff. And it's like, we just weren't like given it, you know what I mean?
Nothing.
So,
no backstory and the whole, they insinuated to the whole sword filled with souls and all of that, but they just didn't elaborate on it at all. It's just such a waste of the character, man.
Yeah, so there is an Ayer cut somewhere, and he is obviously campaigning like crazy to get that Ayer cut out, man. And we never know. We never know.
I'm into it. I reckon it will happen. All
right, it probably will, man. If we talk about the weirdness of DC now, right? Now, I'm saying this as a DC fan, right? I kind of look at, I've said this so many times about the marketing. The marketing is so bizarre sometimes, right? So we had this thing like about a year ago, DC Daily, which is basically going to be this thing where they were going to talk about DC news every single day on the DC Universe app, right?
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, that was a new content thing. And I think Kevin Smith was like, you know, asked to kind of present it and stuff. And even people who flipping love off DC, like me, were being like, how can you talk about DC every day, man, for like an hour?
How?
Right? What is there to talk about every single day for an hour?
Especially since you can't talk about stuff that leak. You can only talk about like official news. That's, you know, got the green light. Yeah, you just handcuff. Like, what is there every day? It's nothing.
And it's one of those things where you could have quite easily an hour show once a week. You know, they were doing like little specials where they're doing interviews with the actors, and they were doing like profiles of different characters and stuff like that. You can condense that into like 1 hour a week, mate.
Yeah.
So they were just going, but it's been scrapped now, right? So now we've got a situation where the DC Universe app has basically literally got Titans and Harley Quinn, right, as their only two real kind of shows that are being made.
Does it have all the films?
It has the films, right? And it has all of the comic books, and it has, you know, all the graphic novels and motion comics and all that kind of stuff. But it's like, there's not enough to think, okay, you know, to join onto it, you know?
We knew this when it was created. Like, everyone knew that there's not enough there for its own map. It should just be mixed into the whole HBO Max thing.
Which is what it seems like they're doing, right?
But they're taking all the DC films off of there.
Yeah, they're so this is the thing, this is a clickbait article, right? So you know the clickbait article, it says DC films are coming off HBO Max, right? And then it's like, okay, I thought, let me read that deadline article. So it's a clickbait title, but actually what the guy in the head of HBO Max is saying is they're putting their DC films on rotation. So what will happen is that you'll get these at this point, and then you'll get another whole load of DC films.
You don't want that. When you pay for a streaming service, when I pay for Disney Plus, it's so that I know that when I'm in the mood, I can go and watch Marvel stuff anytime. It's not stuff that it's going to disappear in a month. Like, you don't want that. The whole point of it is that it's always there when you want it at your fingertips.
Like a library, basically, exactly. of stuff. I mean, this is the thing. I don't know. I don't know what their servers are like, and whether they're just like, we just want to push out this other content there, and I don't know what. But yeah, it's just it is going away, but it is coming back as well. So, you know, it's not as if it's going away forever and ever. But at the same time, it doesn't look good when you're taking away a lot of the films, man. So yeah, and HBO Max isn't even in this country yet, so you know,
it probably won't be for ever, as long as that Sky deal, because I think they just did a new deal. Like, it's just, we're never gonna get it. Sky is just in the way.
You're just gonna have to get Sky, and Sky is like horrible, man. Just that whole interface is horrible. But yeah, it's just I don't know. That's the problem. That's how you get people pirating stuff, man.
Yeah.
You know, as soon as the Snyder Cut comes out, like, the rest of the world who doesn't get bloody HBO Max is gonna now pirate that thing. As soon as the Ayer Cut comes out, you're gonna pirate it. That's what's gonna happen, man. And then it's just like, why do you do that? It's like the marketing people are just completely insane here, man. So let's keep with DC for the moment. Did you see the Doom Patrol trailer?
I did.
The new one.
I'm thinking, because
did you watch Doom Patrol, the original?
I watched about half of it, and I was liking it. I think there's other things got in the way. This is before we started this show, or I joined this show. And I'm thinking, should I get back to it? Because I was liking it, but then seeing what happened to Swamp Thing, that kind of, which I did completely watch and I really liked, but then that kind of died. And I was kind of worried about, should I even bother investing in this? And how friggin' Titans ended. Another show which I liked, but then right at the very end, it turned into a CW show. And I was like, what? No. That kind of scared me off wanting to get into Doom Patrol, because if it goes that other way, then I don't know whether I want to invest all that time.
Doom Patrol is like a roller coaster, right? So you get a really great show, right? And then it just goes like that. And you watch one and it's like, what the hell am I watching? It's just garbage, right? Utter garbage. And then you get another one and it's really cool. And then it's like you get another one. So Doom Patrol, like in the middle, like sagged big time. And I've never seen a series so much where I've watched it and it's kind of like, okay, you get a 4.5 out of 5 show followed by a 1 out of 5.
Ooh.
Right? And then going back up again to like a 4, and then a 2 shows of a 1 or whatever.
And it felt inconsistent as well. Even just the production value. Overall, it looked kind of nice. It was well shot. But then you got Cyborg, who looked like plastic was just stuck. It just looked terrible. Like, it just most budget of budgets for a cybernetic character. Like, I hated that look for that character.
This is the kind of look that they're going for. What they're trying to go for is like a 60s sci-fi show, right? And that's the mindset you got to put yourself in when you watch this. I mean, when you watch some of it, the CGI is horrendous, like really horrendous. But I think it's purposely horrendous. Like, it's meant to look like when they're fighting this robot, like you would see a robot, as in they've tried to create it so it looks like one of those stop motion animation.
You can't
robots.
do that in the modern age, because anyone below the age of 30 isn't going to accept that. Older people will be like, oh yeah, that's novel. But anyone younger will be like, what the fuck? No. They're gonna
exactly. Which is why when I looked at the new trailer, I was like, okay, they've changed it here, because the CGI is better, the prosthetics are better. It looks Cyborg. Like, except Cyborg, who looks like an idiot. But basically, they have changed that a lot. I mean, they've changed it a lot. Do you know one thing? Okay, I'm just quickly going to go off on the side on Cyborg, right? Okay, what I don't understand is this, yeah, and they do this every single time in Hollywood, right? Okay, I understand there are a lot of short actors in Hollywood, right? I'm not the tallest person in the world, right? Okay, but okay, Cyborg is meant to be, right? He's meant to be 6'5", right? He's meant to be an ex-American football player, right? He's meant to be flipping huge, and he's now also got cybernetic connections, right? He's meant to be this physically intimidating character, right? And they turn it into this dude, right? Who's like, he looks like actor. The kind of, terrible actor. Looks like, basically looks like the kind of kid who would be at, my school in the kind of middle levels of playing sport and stuff like that. Yeah. Nothing kind of like out there, doesn't look particularly intimidating, whatever.
It's like a 14-year-old.
I can't understand. Yeah, I can't understand when they get, you've got all these actors who are turning up, like, whatever. You go into there and it's like, okay, how hard is it to say we want somebody who's 6'5", right? Or didn't. At least 6'2", 6'3".
Because they probably didn't. They probably wanted someone who was young they figured, let's appeal to high schoolers. And they figured, this guy looks young and he's short, so he's probably going to look young for a while. That was probably their mentality. Because like I said, the people that make this shit don't care about the source material. They're just execs doing a job.
It's kind of like, but like LeBron James was 6'8" when he was 16.
I bet he looked like he was 30 as well.
He probably did. He probably did. But
have you watched the Last
Dance?
Yeah. That's the one thing I've watched. That's actually really good.
Oh, dude, that's awesome, man. It's really so good. Awesome. And the thing is this, yeah. Basically, the reason why it was made is because they have this thing called Inside NBA, and it's basically got these NBA it's NBA players. They come on and they basically talk about, like, their best play that they made or the best team that they played in and stuff like that. And they've had this thing recently where the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Golden State Warriors have faced each other 4 times in the playoffs, and LeBron James has kind of like pretty much kicked their asses for a while, and then the Golden State had kicked his ass, right? So basically, when he pretty much on a rubbish team beat the Golden State Warriors by himself, he said, yeah, after that I can quite easily claim to be the best of all time, right? So Michael Jordan saw that and he's like, we're making this documentary.
I believe it too. When you watch that, which they haven't sugarcoated the fact that he's a piece of shit. Like, Jordan is not I would not want to know him as I can admire him as a basketball player, but I would not want to know him as a person, because he looks like a horrible person to be around.
Yeah, definitely.
Shit.
Yeah, like do as I say, and like, just stay out of my way kind of thing.
Apparently, everyone's coming out saying that it is even worse than that. Like, there's a lot of shit that they cut out that he was even worse, way more.
he was so obsessed with winning that it was like, if you're not as obsessed as me at winning, then get the hell out, you know, kind of thing.
You say hi to him, he takes that as some sort of slight. He goes, okay, you're hi to me. Okay, I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna destroy your life. It's like episode of South Park where Cartman ends up getting that revenge on that kid and ends up feeding his own parents to the kid in the chili. That's the sort of thing that Jordan would do.
Yeah, that's exactly what he would do. He basically had this thing like Isaiah Thomas wouldn't shake his hand once, and he took it as a personal slight. And for the rest of his career, he made sure that Isaiah Thomas was basically like his entire career was destroyed whenever he played.
Kept him off the Olympics.
So that thing, man, it annoys me when you've got people who can play a definitive looking cyborg, and they've got this dude who I don't know, just looks like a randomer. So,
but you're excited though, because you did like Doom Patrol, innit?
Yeah, and in fact, I'm kind of a bit more interested in this there as well. One of the things that I liked about this is I really like it when you have a character who's supposedly like good, right? Who's done something really crappy, right? For a good means or whatever, right? Because I like those kind of like, you know, human stories and things like that. And I like the storyline of this, you know, what Niles Cold has done. That he created the Doom Patrol basically to find a way to, you know, stay with his daughter, right? It's just bizarre, right? So obviously they're all going to go through these kind of things. The roles that Alan Tudyk is playing in there is a very interesting role there as well, very fourth wall breaking and stuff like that, which is interesting. So I'd be interested to see it. I want them to go even more crazy. I want them to go like outer limits mad, just go completely out there, man. Because you know, I after I watched it, I saw some of the Doom Patrol like comic books and stuff, and they are nuts, man. I'd really like them to go like nuts, like crazy. So we'll see whether they actually go down that route there or not, man. The other thing though is sticking with DC, because it's the last bit of DC news that we've got there. Have you seen the Batman rumors for the next 2 sequels?
No.
Okay. So, guys, if you've already seen the topic list that I've put on here, I've written the Batman sequel rumors suck. Please no, right? Now, the reason why I put this in, okay, is because, like me and Ed's already said, we kind of already discussed this. There is so much source material, right? Now, what they're saying is that in the second one, that is coming, apparently Bane is going to be the main protagonist, right? Okay, and in the third one, it's going to be the Joker, right? Why would you do this, right? Because there's so much stuff that you can do. It's just becoming like, you know, and like I said, I'm on tons of DC forums. People are defending it hard. Oh yeah, we haven't seen him fight the Joker for 10 years, blah, blah, blah. I'm just like, look, guys, there are more characters for him to fight.
No, we don't need the Joker. Right? We don't need any more Jokers. There's enough.
We've had him fight the Joker. We've had a Joker film. Why is this? Okay, Joker, he's an interesting character. I love the Joker, man. He's a cool ass character. But, you know, we've got, I mean, think about it. The
only way I would be into the Joker being in that third film is if at somehow, some way, they were able to persuade Joaquin Phoenix to come back and to actually play that version of what would have happened whatever years passed from when that movie takes place. And they joined it into this one. That'd be the only way I could be interested. If it's not that, and they just created some new Joker, too many.
That's the thing, and you create another Joker, and it's like, okay, yeah, well, you know, he's fighting the Joker again. When it's like, okay, we're gonna ignore Deathstroke, we're gonna ignore Firefly, we're gonna ignore Black Mask, we're gonna ignore Two-Face, we're gonna ignore...
Arkham's supposed to be in this one coming up, isn't it? So they're probably gonna burn through a whole bunch of the villains in that we're just gonna have like little glimpses of.
Yeah, and that I guess is going to give hints to what's going to go on there further on. And the thing is, this man is like, okay, we've got Bane, an actual Bane character would be very, very different to what Tom Hardy's character is. However, do we really want to see that? Do we
As
really
as
want to see that?
when Rises came out, everyone crapped on Hardy's Bane, the way it talks, the way he looked. But I feel like as time has gone by, that Bane has become iconic in its own way. Like the impression, the voice, it's everywhere. I think that, yeah, it makes it even harder for a new Bane to come along because that Bane is so ingrained now, culturally.
Yeah, and it's basically like, in a way, it was probably the best way to do it, right?
Yeah.
Because imagine if they had like a guy who's,
In a lucha mask with a Mexican
in a
accent.
lucha mask, Hispanic, guy who's come from, a prison, born in a prison, and like basically like comes out and decides to come to America and basically like, make a crime empire.
Yeah,
Right?
with
It's like it's
steroids being injected directly into his body.
exactly. It's just like, the Bane way that they did Tom Hardy was probably a better way to do it, kind of on screen. But there are so many people that I could use. I mean, I would love if they'd use somebody like Killer Croc or
Yeah.
Madhouse.
Clayface. There's so much you can do with Clayface. With him turning into different characters and all of that. And the effects when it comes to like a big action sequence could be so cool.
Clayface would be a definitive detective story, right? Because you could do it and it could seem like there's Batman could be chasing around and being like, okay, it looks like Two-Face has done this murder, it looks like Joker's done this murder, it looks like Riddler's done this, but actually Clayface is behind the entire
Clayface would be a perfect end of a trilogy because then you could bring back all the other characters you had in the previous films that Clayface is impersonating in this last film.
Yeah, and it's not actually them, but it's the Clayface version of them.
Exactly.
Would be an awesome way, but the fact they're continually stuck on these characters, I find annoying, man. And I really, if they say to me, okay, we're gonna do Batman, against Bane, the next one, and then Batman against Joker, I'm gonna be like, okay, yeah, I'll watch it, but come on now. There's loads of other stuff that you could do, man, but they don't want to.
No.
You know what I mean? So guys, we kind of promised last time that we would meet in the middle, right? And
neutral ground,
right? Because we were asked by you guys to cover some Star Wars stuff because it's strictly, I mean, Marvel makes the Star Wars stuff, right? So
Disney, don't say Marvel, come on.
No, they the comic books, the Star Wars comic books have got Marvel on the top, right? But it's only really Marvel publishes it. It's not kind of same kind of thing. But Star Wars, man. So the bit of Star Wars news that came out this week was another leak. So like with all these leaks, you got to take them with a pinch of salt, basically, right? But apparently the new Star Wars series that they're trying to create is a Grand Admiral Thrawn series, right?
Film series.
No, like a Disney Plus series kind of.
Oh yeah. I've been hearing about that.
So what's your thoughts on that?
That I'm not surprised because there's a trilogy of Thrawn books. Thrawn, I can never say his name properly, but he's like the last or one of the few characters that survived the whole Disney buyout because he was part of the original extended universe from the 90s in the books. And then once, Disney bought it, all of that EU stuff was just obliterated. But his character was so beloved that it survived and they redid it. And he's got his own trilogy of books. So, yeah, it doesn't surprise me that they'd want to do his own rise in the ranks in the Empire to be Admiral. For whatever his name is.
Thrawn, yeah. Do you like the storylines around the main Jedi storyline, or would you prefer that they stay in the Jedi mold when it comes to Star Wars stuff?
No, I'm much more into other stuff besides Jedi. Like, I don't mind if they do something new with the Jedi stuff, maybe like an Old Republic. That's what I really want to see. Old Republic. Because those like cutscenes for those games were just epic. They're great movies in themselves. Like, I want to know about the Old Republic. But if it's other stuff, then yeah, give me the other universe. There's so much more they could tell. That's why I like The Mandalorian, even though the way that they did the storytelling was a bit frustrating. But it just showed that there was other stuff going on, which that interests me.
Yeah. I mean, I would actually like it. The one thing I like about Thrawn is Thrawn's kind of like you look at it the other way. From Thrawn's point of view, kind of like his whole thing is like keeping order, basically, right? So his thing is like this kind of, you know, sitting around in temples and kind of, you know, the way the Jedi and stuff are, or the Sith are, is not something that he would say is a good thing. He'd be like, that's a messed up thing to do, because that ain't gonna keep law and order in the, you know, in the place or whatever, right? So from that point of view, I kind of like that, because I want to see, like, from the other point of view, like, just exactly like you're saying, like, you know, the other people inhabit this universe.
Yeah.
What do they feel about the Sith and the Jedi, right? Do they, you know, I'd like to see, like, you know, the Jedi being kind of there as like, okay, they're trying to police the galaxy or whatever, that kind of thing, and people trying to skirt around, you know, what the Jedi are doing or what the Sith are doing, and
Jedi, the Democrats, and the Empire, the Republicans. This is just the Republicans.
He said that. Ed said that.
Come on.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's the thing, man, because like you know, there are stories to be told there, but you know, the kind of the thing is like they've got these whole stories with like the games and stuff like that, and you know, a lot of the stories that you kind of think, you know, would be great as you know, as series or films or whatever, have kind of already been told in those games. So you kind of have
how many of those games are still canon though now? Because how many games have come out since Disney bought it? But the most recent one.
Well, the only one that you've got at the moment that is running is you know, Knights of the Old Republic, or the Old Republic it's called, which is the massive online game. So that is considered canon, but canon. It's only considered canon because it's so ancient, right? That it's like it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
like
it has thousands of years. Even though everything looks exactly the same, it's still thousands of years.
Exactly. Yeah. So, you know, you got Revan and Malak and all that kind of stuff that is happening at the same time as this, man. So, you know, the one thing that I would love to see above everything else, if they just, you know, if they even said, oh, we're not going to make any more like Star Wars kind of films or anything like that, would be a Darth Bane trilogy, man. That would be, that would be my number one over absolutely everything, man. Just the craziness of this guy's story, how obsessed he was with being the best Sith out there, that literally he just flipping killed everybody and you know, rose through the ranks and all this kind of stuff, man. Just they could actually even link it to like today, whereas like, you know, you got Bane, and he used to go and fight people in like wars and things like that. And then, you know, then he realized that actually the only real way to gain real power is to get into politics and become like this political, like, you know, this like main guy in politics and stuff like that. And they could liken it to today, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it would, that would be an interesting one, man. But
I would like more focus on other force welders, force sensitive beings which aren't Jedi or Sith, because there were other people that used the force for in their own way that didn't fall in those two camps. I would like to know more about those guys.
Yeah, like somebody who used it literally just to make money, like
or any other cult like the witches and why not? Give me that, man.
Yeah, like
there's so much more out there.
that's the thing. There, a lot of it is they think, okay, what's going to make money, and they've looked at like the trilogy and just kind of just keep going on at this thing the same way that DC keep going on about the Joker. It's just that they keep going in that sphere, but they could quite easily go to other stuff, man. So
much.
I don't know. Have you heard Bob Iger's book or read it?
Mm-mm.
I say heard it because I've very interesting, man. Because the way he talks about how like the takeover occurred of Star Wars, and how the takeover occurred of Marvel, and what his plan was, and the battles that he fought to get this kind of stuff through. It's super interesting because it's all about like the business behind this kind of stuff. And you think Feige's got like carte blanche for everything. It's like, nah, the buck stops at Bob Iger, you know what I mean?
Of course, yeah.
So he's kind of like, even though Kathleen Kennedy's become this like fall guy for everything wrong with Star Wars, right? He is the guy who's like, no, I want this. I want this, and then she's the one who kind of is like, okay, well, I'll try and fulfill this guy's like vision of the way that it is. So even though she takes a lot of the hate for it, he is very highly responsible for a lot of the crap that has been coming out, man. But
I'm always suspicious about these things, like with his book, because how long has he been part of Hollywood? For a long time. So how long though?
Probably long. I can't remember what it is.
And we know the shady stuff that goes on in the back alleys of Hollywood, man. We know the Epstein type business that's going down with these sort of characters. I want to know that stuff, the crazy payoffs, the dead hookers that they have to get rid of, all of these things, man. This is what I want to know about.
Do you know what? There's a program about this you might have seen there already, where it's like it's meant to show you the stuff that happened in Hollywood. I think it's actually called Hollywood.
Netflix Hollywood, yeah. The thing is, it's not. They don't stay accurate to the actual.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. So it's actually meant to show you that stuff, but they go off on something else, which is like dramatic.
Yeah.
And it's like you don't need to go dramatic because they're already the.
We spoke about this on Talking at the Movies podcast. Gotta check that out. Like the two other guys, Solomon and Mo, they loved it. But I watched half of it, and then once I realized it was diverting from the real life story of these characters, I just lost interest because I want to know the real story of Rock Hudson and all of these other characters. I don't want to know a fantasy happy ending where everyone's, two gay couples can walk down the street hand in hand and it's all fine, because in real life that isn't
in
what
the 60s.
That isn't what was going on. So I want to know. So I lost interest when it became a fantasy story, man. I was like,
yeah, that's just rubbish, basically. I mean, this is the thing. If you've got such a fantastical true life story,
you don't need to.
Why do you need to change it around? It's like, that's the thing. So you always got to be careful when you listen to these autobiographies and stuff, because obviously they've been edited by the person and they're not going to portray themselves in a crappy light, or sometimes they do portray themselves in a bad light, but then they say the reason why I did this was because of this, and this worked out amazing because of the thing that the thing that I took. And it's not usually a very accurate representation, but yeah, guys, if you're interested in ins and outs of like Disney and stuff, then you definitely need to check that out at some point. So yeah, guys, this is the end of our news segment. We don't really have any more news there at the moment, if you want to continue listening on to us, well, not me, but Ed's, because he's in everything. Do you know what somebody else pointed out? Okay, so here, right, am I on your left-hand side, yeah?
You're on my... you're that side. Where am I?
Yeah, okay. So this is the thing. This is the kind of people we have, like, saying stuff. So we got a message through Facebook saying, you guys did a fist bump, and you're pointing at the wrong sides of the screen or something, right?
That shouldn't be the case. You should record exactly what I'm saying. Like, when I go that way, you should be there. So if it's Oh, so no, but I did notice one time when I was editing it, for some reason, I don't know why, it reflected the image the other way.
Yeah.
Don't know why.
Yeah, so that's what the guy was saying. So I was like, okay, let me go there today and have a look at the video on the YouTube. And it is so basically like I'm going that way off the screen. And you're going the other direction, or we're trying to do the Star Wars fist bump because I'm underneath the DC, which is on the left hand side, and you're underneath the Marvel. So we're actually the other way around. So yeah, it's a kind of cringeworthy fist bump.
Oh god, so it's just kind of going off to the side.
Yeah.
I think I've got my camera flipped for some reason. I have to sort that out in the settings. I don't know why.
I think that is literally the only message that we received. Like, you guys messed up the fist bump. So that's basically it. But guys, if you wanna, Ed's is on so many podcasts, man, that if you wanna keep
I apologize. I'm sorry.
If you wanna keep listening to Ed's, what stuff are you doing at the moment?
Yeah. Okay, so we've got talking about the movies. We've got the bonus episodes of talking about the movies, which are the original versus remakes, where we take two movies from different eras and genres, and we just basically look at the original version of it and the remake and compare and contrast. That's me and Mo going through that. We've got Wrestling Ruckus. All of this is on the Voltron Network and all podcast platforms. But Voltron Network on YouTube, go check it out. Watch the videos, see our ugly faces.
Yeah. Subscribe to that as well, and just share it around, basically. So yeah, guys, if you wanna contact us, you can email us on dcvsmarvelpod@gmail.com. As always, go to the Facebook page, which is the most active, which is DCVS Marvel Podcast, and you can also go onto the Instagram, which is DCVS Marvel Podcast, which is Ed's domain, man. So guys, until next week, we'll see you again next time, and we'll have some new news for you then.
See ya.